Well, today is the 14th of March, which is the middle of March, and spring is almost here. Just another week and we'll be the 21st of March, which will be the official start of spring. And of course, this is a Japanese larch, and look at the green buds here. They're all beginning to bud. This tree belongs to my volunteer Josh, who is doing the camera work. And this was a dead straight tree, and he was trying to do all sorts of styles, but let me just tidy it up a little bit. There's some wiring done to the pads. I'll do a little critique about this tree, and I've not looked at this tree since it was given to him more than a year ago, and all he has done is wire these two branches, and I will first do a critique and then see what inspiration comes our way. Usually with larch at this time of the year, you need to prune them back to get nice pads. Larches are very vigorous, and they do take from air layering. That big air layering that we did last year is also budding, so I will show you that on another occasion. So if you look at this larch again, this seems to be the front. It's not a bad tree. I think if we put it in leaning style, it's okay. But I somehow feel that this trunk here is much too straight. And because it's too straight, it's not as attractive as it should be. So let me see what we can do with it. So because it's straight, I want to maybe give it more interest, give trunk line which is more curvy. It's not really a formal upright tree because it's one-sided. I could make that the leader like that. It's not bad if we make it like that and make that the leader, you see. But you really need a branch this side with a straight trunk like this. And because we have so many larches, I thought that for fun, I would probably try and do an experiment. Okay, let me bring some special tools and a higher turntable, and then we do some more. Because it's so stiff, to bend it, I know that larches are very, very brittle, so bending it could be a problem. But what I might do as an experiment is to remove a bit of the trunk. So this is almost like surgical operation. So let's use all sorts of tools. No. Remember, we're not doing any Hollywood presentations. We're just filming straight, honest video without preparation. I'm not doing several takes. All these are what we call one take. If it doesn't work, there's no second retake. So all our videos are impromptu. So what I'm going to do now is try to split this trunk, but not just split it by leaving the branch on. I'm going to try and remove it. I've never done this before. But there's always a first time. I could bring the Chinese cleaver again, but that may be too frightening. I was looking for my root cutter because sometimes the root cutter can double up as a branch cutter. But don't worry, we can improvise with these tools. I'm literally trying to slice away 1/3 of the trunk. The beauty of bonsai as a hobby, when you actually are into making bonsai, not just buying it to look at, is that the experiments are so exciting. So what I've done here is split that to make it a thinner branch. Okay, now that I split it, I don't think I need it. What the hell, let's get rid of it. I've taken that out. Now it might bend. Now it might bend. Let's see if I take a little more from there and see what happens. I'm not doing it just for the sake of doing it. I know there's an element of that as well, but I'm doing an experiment in making a trunk more bendable without sacrificing the aesthetics of it. If you remember that video I did when I showed that Italian master take the center out, this is a case where we can take the center out and make it more bendable that way. In fact, what the Italian master did is not unique. It is a standard practice. It has been done before. It is done. I know quite a few people in Japan and China, they do that technique where they take out the inside of the wood and then bend it. I'm just taking a little more to make sure it is bendable. And of course, I know it won't kill the tree because the bark on that side is well alive. And there's a lot of cambium there, a lot of sap will continue to flow. And now for good measure, I'm going to do that technique where you reinforce the trunk. I'm now going to insert some wires in there. So I'm going to use 4mm wire. I'm not getting commission for selling wire, but I can't emphasize enough how important the use of wire is. If you don't use wire where it is needed, you will not make much progress. Some people skimp on wire. You may remember me telling you how in the initial days in the UK, before bonsai wire was easily available, I used to buy those overhead electric cables from the electric company that I used to work for. Here you are. I still have some of it. This was purchased in 1974. How many years is that? 47 years ago I bought this, 1974. I used to buy 1 ton at a time. So this is the overhead electric cables. I've taken the steel center out. It is called what we call ACSR, aluminum core steel reinforced. So they used to have like 7 strands in it. So this is the aluminum wire I used to use before you could get bonsai wire. But nowadays, when we have bonsai wire freely available, there's no excuse not using it. So I'm going to put this on to reinforce it. It's just to support the trunk to prevent it from breaking. Also, I'm going to introduce you to another thing. This is packaging tape. We use tons of it because we have such a big internet presence. We sell a lot of stuff on the internet. You will have seen a lot of masters use raffia to wrap the trunk. That is very good material. But if you don't have that, you don't have to use raffia. I'm all for improvising. So if you use this tape to wrap round the tree, or if you remember that Italian master used the inner tube of the bicycle tire, and that was used to wrap around the tree to prevent it snapping. So this is perfectly acceptable, and it holds the wire in place. You can put a little more wire to hold it once we've done it. So that will keep that wire in place. Don't forget this tree is still being trained. So while it's being trained, it doesn't matter. As long as the end result is achieved, that's all that matters. Okay, so now that is reinforced. So that's not the end of story. There's more to come. We are now going to wire this tree. I usually like to measure the right amount of wire. I know that some people, they wire with the coil dangling. I don't know how they manage to do it. That, of course, is done because it's very efficient. You don't waste any wire. When it comes to the end of the coil, then you stop. But I usually am able to judge how much wire is needed. Where I'm going to the top there. Now 1 piece of wire is nothing. In fact, that is only 4 mil wire. I should be using something like 5 or 6 or 7 mil. But let's see. I don't want to go over the top. Just right, but a bit short. Okay, let's see if that bends it now. If you hear it crack, don't blame me. Sometimes you may not be successful. Must admit it's doing nothing. It's still too stiff. Still too stiff, so I like to show mistakes as well. So if it doesn't work, we will try it again. I know a lot of people say that I teach life lessons. I'm not here to teach life lessons, but a lot of the things that apply to common tasks that you do are really things that you would apply in daily life. And making mistakes is one of them. I know that a lot of people, I don't know whether it's societal pressure or whatever, and they regard as mistakes as being terrible things, unforgivable sins. But I always, or not always, over the years, as one gets older, you get to realize that mistakes are the way you learn in life. If you make mistakes, don't look at it in a negative fashion, because if you don't make mistakes, you don't learn. So that was like a mistake, but so what? We will proceed to correct it. So that was not bendable. I misjudged it. Let's see if I take a little more, if it would work. I don't want to take so much that it makes the tree look a disaster. I don't know how I managed to talk and work at the same time. Really, I'm just thinking aloud. I'm just thinking aloud. As I work, I think. So although you may be silent, if I was on my own, I would probably not say anything. But since I'm doing the video, I'm just thinking aloud what goes through my mind. So instead of using that router to take away the inside, you remember that video or the photographs I showed of that Italian master using all sorts of routers and things to gouge away a channel. I could have easily used a router to gouge a hollow channel here, but I'm not doing that. I will just use the branch splitter to take away the wood. I'm trying to keep some bark there because the bark might heal over. It's like a skin graft. I didn't tell you that at one stage I almost became a doctor because there were some doctors in our family, but for some reason I decided to follow my father's footsteps and become an engineer, but I hated engineering. So this is really like a bit of surgery. Surgery. Now it is bendable. Now we're getting somewhere. Now we're getting somewhere. What's that saying? If at once you don't succeed, try and try again. So that is very true. This was a case in point. So use all sorts of tools to improvise. I'm just trying to take some wood out from the center. Wood, of course, is the dead cells. It's the bark and the cambium which is alive. So that is bendable. Trying to gouge away a bit of wood so that I can tear some of the wood from the inside. You see what I'm trying to do? I'm getting that and tearing it away. So the branch splitter can be used like this. Even the root cutter can be used like that. See, pulling away the insides of the wood. And now you can see already it is bendable. But that cambium is okay. That will keep it alive. Now again, I will put that reinforcing bar to prevent it snapping, just in case we bend it too much. So that's how we're going to use the reinforcing bar. But as I say, this is not rocket science. When you do grafting with plants in horticulture, only horticulture, it is no different from that. Grafting is really a surgical operation. In fact, you've got to be very clean and sterile, because if you're not clean and sterile, the graft doesn't take. So all that is almost like medical practice. Now we will wire again. In fact, I think I will start it from here. I'm just providing an anchor here. So the two-branch principle is in fact what I'm doing. I was going to tape it. I will tape it again. I guess you can use duct tape, you can use sellotape, you can use any type of tape. Raffia, of course, gives a very neat finish. But if you don't have raffia, I'm just showing you, because I do have raffia, but I'm just showing people what you can do without having to use raffia. Now, knowing the way larches grow, I am pretty confident that this will set in a year, so I won't have too long to wait. Okay, I've reinforced it, and now the moment of truth. I'm going to bend it just to make it less straight and to give more line and interest to the tree. No magic tricks. So that straight piece has been bent. And when that calluses, that should be quite nice. You see, there's distinct bend there. I haven't heard any cracking sounds, so I haven't cracked it. Definitely haven't cracked it. I'll just say something about designing trees. I'm always intrigued by some people who like to design the shape and they say that this is how I'm going to design the tree and this is how the tree will turn out. With me, I find that that is very restricting, and I just work with the tree and see how it turns out. I never pre-plan anything in that sense. If it turns out one way, well and good. If it doesn't, I don't force the tree to do what it may not want to do. I've now almost given it 270-degree turn on the trunk. So what was a straight tree, I've now made it into this. And I think you will admit that I've given more line and substance to the tree. So this is going to be the new leader. This is going to be a nice curve. So that dead straight piece, which was like that, by taking away 2/3 of the trunk, I have been able to bend it using that technique. So this is a completely new technique that has been done. And I will take some screenshots to show the before and after of this tree. And give it a year, we will follow this tree through. And I'm sure it'll look very interesting. It's got a nice trunk, everything is in the right proportion. And it's in a drum pot. Let's see, it looks nice. Even from this side it looks nice. Using that as the back branch. So many possibilities with this tree. So just a couple of reinforcing bars and a couple of coils of 4mm wire, and I've now changed the shape of that larch completely. So this is something very radical, and I hope that those of you who are more adventurous will try and do something like that. Look at it, it's nice from every side. This is a nice side. This is what we removed. So I hope you've learned from this one.